I welcome you today to Day 4 of the Breaking the Silence Summit, Healing Childhood Sexual Trauma. I am your host, Janine Naus. It's a pleasure having you join us on this summit, and I'm here with a great guest who I love chatting with. Her name is Andrea Dawn, and she lives in Northern California. Andrea is a spiritual alchemist with a focus on healing and helping people to reach their highest, truest soul self. She channels and delivers guided messages from other dimensions, and these can be galactic friends, archangels, angel guides, spirit guides, animal guides, energy of the living, past lives, roads before you, and more. And she certainly sounds pretty amazing, right? Well, today Andrea is offering a great topic, and it's called Awakening to Invincibility. And this most certainly sounds like a great topic, and I'm sure Andrea will be happy to share more about it. So Andrea, I'd like to welcome you to Breaking the Silence Summit. It's great to have you here with us today to share on your topic, Awakening to Invincibility.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, it's great. I'm excited to have you here too. So I'm very interested in what you do and that you help people reach their highest, truest soul self. So before we step into your topic, I'd love to hear from you a little more about something. So Andrea, could you please tell me a little bit more about yourself?
Yes, I am just the generic me. I'm a mother of 3 girls. It's really hard to explain myself today, and yet I know that there's more people out in the universe that are coming to this awakening of themselves. So to say, who am I today, more about myself, being a mother, I'm divorced and I'm out of the corporate world 2 years now, doing this, actually more than 2 years, full time. And this is, being an international best-selling author, doing my channels, doing big group sessions, corporate events. And so it's just been growing and growing. And I have my previous life. So what I am today and who I am today, it's an everyday experience that I'm learning more and more and more with lots of help with entities and spirit, and oh my goodness, like we just said, your dad's here, so I'm trying to have this interview, and I got spirit coming through the side. He's super excited for you, and I'm going, okay, just hold on, because I need to do my interview first. That's who I am.
Yeah, my papa, he's such a wonderful man. So I'm curious.
Well, sure. I want to say, being a channel and saying what that is about myself, to clear this up, that, a spiritual alchemist, turning alchemy, right? People know it turning gold or lead into gold. And being a spiritual alchemist, being a channel, being that vessel, we are all these things, all of us. And so to take any kind of title for myself to try to identify truly who I am. It's amazing to say, I am that I am from the Bible. I love quoting that scripture because that is what I am. That one word, whatever that is. One day I am a mom, or one moment, or one day I'm an ex-wife, one day I'm a sister, one day I'm a daughter, right? So we have all these hats or that we are. And so I just happen to channel energy, like you said, from many different entities and energies. And yet this is expounding. So I love saying, yes, I'm a spiritual alchemist. I want to help the people rise up from feeling like I'm confused, I don't really know who I am, to feeling like they are the gold in the world. They are so cherished. They're so beautiful. They shine. I mean, that wonderful gold is the most beautiful bright light when it's lit up. So
that's beautiful. And I love the I am that I am, that's just when you're able to step into that and see that that's who you are, you're
Yes,
all of that, whatever it is. And that's, so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Andrea.
you're
So,
welcome.
one of the things that's, pretty interesting about that is just being curious. So when you're curious about yourself, so I'm curious about what drew you to the Breaking the Silence Summit. And was there a personal experience in your life with sexual trauma?
I have experienced sexual trauma and physical, emotional, mental abuse.
Mm.
And so, having this started at a very young age, around 2 years old, and having just different aspects of it throughout my life until I decided to walk away from it. And that was at that time, making a decision that this would never happen to me. And at the same time, saying those words, I said I would never tell anybody. And so around the age of about 9 or 10 is when I was already shut down because I had experienced all of this at a young age. And having a little bit more about myself is that I also at 5 years old knew that I was hearing voices in my head. And I had also met my grandfather who had passed 9 years before, my bedroom. And so seeing him and talking to him, it was very comfortable. But because I was in such a dysfunctional home, I didn't want to tell anybody. And my grandmother, we all said she was crazy, and she was institutionalized a couple times. So, you don't want to associate with that. You don't want to get, the fear. You don't want to tell anyone because you just don't. It's unknown. Nobody's talking about this, and so what I thought was I kept it all in, like everything else. So all the, sharing any kind of abuse with anyone, I did not share this with anyone, even though my sister, was experiencing some things, or other family members. This is just for me, something I chose to do, was to try to keep quiet.
Mm. I understand that, being the survivor myself, about holding it all in and keeping quiet about it, and you need to address what it is that you're carrying. And yeah, it can be very difficult. So I hear and understand. So Andrea, as this was occurring, what was your process to get through these traumatic events?
That's a good question, because my my dad tried to take me to counseling, and I knew that they wanted me to talk about certain things, and I just lied to them. I just told them whatever they wanted to hear so I could get out of there, within the time slot that I had. And I just wasn't ready to be able to talk about these things. Now, the interesting part is I only really for my lifetime remembered that I had the physical, emotional, and mental abuse up until 2012.
Mm.
And in 2012, I had a memory recall that I was also sexually abused. And when that happened, that opened up a floodgate for me. It made a lot of sense. It explained a lot of things. And so as I was going through the process of denial and it's so interesting, I can clearly remember watching Phil Donahue when I was a kid, and there was these two sisters on the show talking about how they had remembered that their dad had sexually abused them. And I got up and I was so mad, and I'm like, they're lying. They're just lying. They're just mad at their dad. And I stormed out of the room. And when you look back at these things, you go, yeah, I had to get mad because I wasn't ready to talk about mine. And so in 2012, when I remembered, just that door opening in your mind, and that all this stuff just came forward. And I mean, I couldn't even function. I couldn't go to work. I was a mess. And so at that point, getting into a counselor who specialized in, sexual abuse. And so from there, that did help me for a period of time. And after so many months, I told her, I said, thank you very much. You've been great. And I don't know who I am. If you ask me my favorite color, I go the rainbow, because I couldn't even pick a color. Literally, my identity was wrapped in just being a mom and a wife. There was no Andrea there. That really was a title that I had, and I didn't identify with that. So this awakening that happened in 2012 for me was on this path of, who am I? I had to go down this path, this path of, no matter what, I want to know who I am. And I want to love that person, because I had no idea really what that was either. So that's, my story is a little bit different. And I'm please understand, there's counseling can be amazing and very helpful. And for me, I couldn't go change the past. And so I got through the stuff that you process. There's certain steps that you go through, and yet I just knew I didn't know who I was. So what am I going to heal, or what am I going to counsel anymore about? Because I have to go find me. So that's when I stepped out on my own. And I literally, Janine, I was like a bulldozer. I'm not stopping. I don't care what happens. This is about me, and I'm going for it, whatever that is. Ended up, getting a divorce. I put it out there into the universe that this was a little bit later. My business was picking up, and I was booked 3 months out, and I was trying to work and then work at night doing this. And so I went on a local TV station, and I said, oh, my work doesn't know it yet, but I'll be quitting soon. And 2 weeks later, I got the pink slip. So the universe said, well, yes, here you go. So thoughts are things.
Very true.
Yes. So my life dramatically changed, and I would do it all again. It's been amazing.
It sounds like you've gone through quite a process. And I know that in our audience, we probably have people who have that inkling that maybe something happened, but they're not sure. How do you come to understanding or addressing that? I see that through your process, and so how does one, when they're not real clear, but they think something happened, what would they do, and what kind of questions could they ask themselves?
It was interesting when I remembered, because I did start seeing areas that it was, I called it rearing its ugly head. And even questions or certain memories that I would have that absolutely made no sense. And, here's one of the real kickers. When I had the memory recall, and I finally was able to go back to work, and I'm, at that time I'm sharing with the management team, which it was a lot of women in the room, and almost all of them said, oh, we thought you knew that, and you just didn't want to talk about it. And I'm like, what do you mean? You guys all knew? I mean, they could see that I had certain traits and certain, the way that I was thinking, or, just certain things that really are cliche. I mean, we have certain behaviors, and the way that we tend to feel the shame and the guilt, even though we were the one experiencing the abuse. And so, and judging and criticizing ourselves is top of the list right there. If you are, and we are our worst critic. We have I call it the dryer cycle. It just plays and plays. We can read a conversation over and over. I should not have said that. I should have said something else. Right. And we drive ourselves crazy. And I mean, I literally used to say I was crazy as a kid. Now I'm okay with it. And this whole thinking that something's not right. And that's bringing that in, because we already know. And so when we bring it, even just to say, God, have I ever been sexually abused? You're asking the question because So it's us being ready to step into this and to go, yes, I have this experience, and whatever your and is, we're going to move through it. We're going to shift out of it. We're going to release it. We're going to let it go. We're going to, turn into someone that is a love bug, that isn't afraid of sex and doesn't even want to talk about it, or, shies away from the things that we like, especially, and this is for men and women. This isn't just for women. Statistically, it's 1 in 4 women, and it's 1 in 6 men. And in my sessions, more men are coming out. They are saying, I actually was sexually abused as well. And that kind of ties into the same thing of what we had talking about earlier, the Me Too movement, because we have all these men who can't talk about their rapes or their sexual abuse because then they're not a man. So then they're mad at the women who have done this to them, and they're treating women a certain way. So I'm not saying it's right. I just want us to look at the whole thing. When we awaken to, have I been sexually abused? Have I had an experience that, man, did not feel good? And that we are very good at dismissing. Oh, so what? It's no big deal. I'll just get over it. And yet it goes very deep into our soul's growth. And so when we ignore it, and when we try to hide it and push it down, it's there. And so when you're ready, it will come out. And we have to be in that place where we're ready. And so apparently I was definitely ready.
Oh. Well, thank you so much for sharing your heart with that, and with my question. And I can sense very much that you're a very spiritual type person, and you're very connected. And I'm curious in terms of, how has your spiritual beliefs contributed to your healing?
Well, I married at 20 and had my 3 girls right off the bat. And it was dysfunctional marriage. And so I became a Christian at the time because I knew something needed saving. And so having that background, reading the Bible, going to church, at one point even, being kicked out of the church in a sense, because I was asking a lot of questions. I had other things that were coming to me, that were being revealed to me, and talking to other people. And, when you get stuck in one religion and one way of thinking, you cannot go outside that box. And so I didn't fit the norm, even in church. And yet I know I love the people, and I loved the stories. I mean, Jesus said, walk as I walk and talk as I talk. What did he do? He helped people. He healed their physical bodies. And I always would say, well, why aren't we doing that? If he's saying this, then why aren't we doing that? So, having all these stories and the Bible, I absolutely loved it. And I'm so thankful that I actually spent the time and having the time to read the Bible. And so when I did my, process of awakening, it led me into an understanding of the spiritual side of all things, the Bible, Buddha, and all these other great ascended masters. And a lot of times, this is just for me, I'm not reading everything from all these other ascended masters. I'm channeling them. They're coming to me. I've talked to Buddha, talked to Jesus. I've talked to some of the apostles, talked to Kuan Yin. And so they're coming because they're around, and we can all do this. I'm not special. And so when we understand, just as Jesus in the Bible, the way that he talked, the way that all these other ascended masters talked, this healing is really this coming into our knowing and awakening our soul, which is wanting us more than anything to awaken, and opening ourselves up. Watch out, because at this point, when we're ready for this, we are unstoppable, and we're ready for the more in our life, whatever that more is. And that's where we're at. It's time. This universe that we're on, this energy that's rising, it's time. We are so ready. We want it so badly. We still have fears. And yet we can overcome our fears because fear is false evidence appearing real. So we know it's not real, and yet it's there and it feels very real. I know we've all experienced it. So when we're stepping into this and understanding what is spirituality, that's coming to really know who we are. Are we going to say, oh, I am God? Well, Jesus said that he and God are the same, the Father and the Son, and the vines and all his examples of being one. Yes, we are. And so we are, we have higher selves, and there's so much more. And I get shown a lot of these things in my visions or my lucid dreaming or whatever. And I'm always, I mean, I get teary eyed. I'm so thankful. It's like, wow, hello, let's waken up to really what's around us. It's amazing. It's like, this is so three-dimensional. And you look outside at nature and how beautiful and perfect it is. And there's so much more. There's so much more.
Oh, that was such a great response to that question. And, you know, the spirituality and, you know, and its ability to help you with your healing path. And it's all about connection and knowing we're not alone. And we have the resources already available to us, you know, and we have that in us. And I really appreciate your answer. So Andrea, what do you think our viewers can learn from your experience?
In the words of someone that has, I have another book coming out that is about my story from start to finish. Mm-hmm. And so she was doing an edit, and she said, you give me hope. Mm-hmm. And I've always been that person before I even really knew who I was, that would always encourage people or uplift or, you know, want to just go and talk to people. And I'm a pretty fearless person, more so now than ever, but I was pretty rebellious growing up. And I always had that thought, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And not believing in myself kept me from actually doing those things. And when she said, oh, you give me hope. Yes, I've been through it. There's so many more other stories I could tell you that I've had experience. And so to say, absolutely, if I can help one person through whatever I've experienced, then absolutely, there's hope for humanity. Mm-hmm. And so you want to change the world, you start with one. Mm-hmm. That's all we have to do. That's all we have to do, because that one, it's a pay it forward. That one, you feel good. You feel good about yourself. You start loving yourself, and it spreads, even if you don't want it to. If you're having a bad day and you're still in that, I love this life, but dang, this part's like, you know, you still have a different vibration that you're carrying, because you're moving up in that vibration. You're awakening your soul, and you're growing and expanding yourself. So hope, that is, I love that word, hope. Yeah. I love that word.
Yeah, that's hope is so beautiful, and we have that right in front of us, and just to reach out and it's there. Very, very wonderful answer to that question. So, Andrea, what do you want other people to know about their own life story?
Well, everybody has a story. And, you know, look at the phenomenon right now that's happening where, here, write your story, we'll publish your book. I mean, it's just everywhere. The blogging, I vlog, I have a YouTube channel, so I'm much more of a talking into it, even though I have another book coming out. I love to talk. Surprise. And so we have these stories. There's the stories we're here to share. And the more that we talk about it and we get it out there, the more that we let this go, and we don't have what Buddha said, detached from the emotional attachment, detached from the attachment. And it's usually in an emotional one that we carry that attachment with. So when we can keep talking about this and we see that it's helping others, we are letting it go. So it is a process with others. We are here to help one another. We are not here to walk into our house, shut the shutters, close the door, lock it, and never come out. That's not what we're here for. And so if that's your experience in this lifetime right now, that's fine. This is part of your journey. So don't even criticize yourself and think that's bad or wrong. It's just where you're at right now. And what is your story? Even to just starting to write it down or talk it out. However it is, just start getting it out, telling your friends. You'll be amazed at how many people have similar stories. We're all having these experiences and we don't want to talk about them because we are afraid of judgment and criticism. And you go and stand in the grocery store line, and what's it lined with? Just criticizing and judging people for being people. You know, we're not perfect. We don't have the perfect bodies. There's no really such thing as perfect. It's a misnomer. We're supposed to be who we're supposed to be and look the way we're supposed to be, however that is. So this stigma, this judgment that we have, it's just insane how we're so afraid to be who we are. And so tell your story, get it out there. I mean, that's what this is about. And the more, especially about the sexual abuse and how rampant it is, we can eradicate this. We can stop human trafficking. We can stop these people from thinking that it's okay to do this to another human being. We can. And people are like, well, I don't know how you could do that. We just have to start talking about it because it loses power. We become empowered. And so that energy is what you telling your story is what will carry this message forward. I guarantee it. And I don't even know what I'm guaranteeing, but I just guarantee it.
This is great. Just to be able to communicate that. And, and I know it's a very scary, scary prospect to do that for some people, maybe in our audience. And, but to know that there is somebody to reach out to. We got this plethora of speakers that you can reach out to talk to about what's going on, and know that you're starting that process and to create that expansion of hope and healing. And I think that's just beautiful. Great answer. So Andrea, for people that are listening today, what do they need to do to experience all that we're talking about?
It's a choice. And when you're ready and you choose that you came here for your soul's experience, your journey for you, and you decide that more than anything, you want to know what this is for you, the universe says yes. And things start happening sometimes very quickly. And it's amazing how when we just make that one choice for us, I mean, I'm a mom, I'm a grandmother. I call myself Gigi for glamorous grandma. And so when you think you're responsible, even for your own children, you're not. They chose you. So releasing them to have their experience, whatever that is, you came here for you. And so when we understand that it's about us, it becomes about everybody else. Because when we start tuning into our soul, and what we are really here for, and this love of life starts coming out of us, there is this love for everybody, whether it be your own children, other people's children, the neighbor's children. I mean, it goes out to everyone. So it is letting go that you are responsible. You have to, you should, you need to, and all of those words into this is for me. This is my journey. And when I know who I am, when I step into my authentic self, and I'm choosing to awaken to that, that's when you will see this shift and this miraculous unfolding happening before you, and things that you're like, oh, I can't explain that, but that was amazing. That just happened.
Oh, that's so great. So then, in terms of this amazing life that we really have ahead of us, all sorts of wonderful opportunities happen, and all sorts of great connections happen, and things just continue to expand for the better. And I think about what you shared, and that soul, that part of you that wants to come out and let you be with who you came here to be. And why hold that back? And I think about that. And I recall you talking about your book, and You were part of a compilation book? I would love to hear a little bit about that. So,
it came very quickly. Talk about opportunity, and I was the last one to join this wonderful book of inspirational stories, and they're very short stories, and it's about. I love it because it really does say women who influence, inspire, and make a difference. And every single one of us has a story that would fit this. And so, whatever we are experiencing, my story in there and all these other ones are about trying to help bring awareness and to, again, give hope, to say, wow, you've had this, you've experienced what I've experienced, and you've gone through it. So there's hope for me. And that's what this book is about.
Wow. And that book it's called Voices of the 21st Century. Is that what I read correctly?
Yes. Okay. Voices of the 21st Century. Yes, It is.
That sounds like a great, great book.
Yes.
And and you were talking about potentially sharing your chapter?
Yes. I wanted to share my chapter with everyone who's listening. So, yep, we're working that out. So I want to share that with everyone. Again, it's a very short story, and it's short and yet very to the point and poignant. So I'm very happy to share that with everyone.
Okay. I'm curious in terms of some of the benefits one would get out of that portion that you wrote in the book.
Yeah. The benefit is that you're ready. If you are ready to receive any kind of guidance, direction, clarity, and whether it's my story or somebody else's story in this book, and but my story that I'm going to be sharing with you, you're ready. And so this just that saying that and reading this and even all the other speakers that you're going to have on here, this is the time to say we're ready for the more. And so I know that through the words that I that are in my story are to give the benefit to someone else to make that next step, to open up, to say, to be ready, to be more ready for that, whatever that is. Then we're back to that.
Wow, that's just great. And if you're interested in getting Andrea's free gift of her chapter from the international best-selling compilation book, and it's called Voices of the 21st Century, you can go to our replay page, or you can access her link at her website, and that's www.awakenings.com. So, Andrea, is there anything else you wanted to share with our audience?
I do. I have a special that it's the Spiritual Alchemist coaching session, and I named it specifically for you. And I'm offering, this coaching session for 30 minutes, and to help others if they resonate with my story and with my energy, to take advantage of the special that I'm running.
So in terms of your program, or the special that you have, what are some of the benefits that one would receive from it?
Well, to explore things more from a spiritual side, and to gain insight from your guides, from spirit, and whoever will show up. When I'm channeling and when I'm with you, it can come from anywhere. So I don't hold back everything. I give the messages, whatever they are, and to be reminded of my invincibility is your invincibility. And so each person that I have a session with, to be reminded of your own invincibility.
That's great. I love that. Invincibility. Such a great word. So if you want to connect with Andrea, you can go again to our replay page. We'll have all the information about Andrea and her website, or you can actually go to her website at www.awakeningswithandreadawn.com. And okay, we're here with a very special guest, Andrea Dawn, and she's certainly a kind and sweet and an incredibly gifted woman, and she would love to work with you. And again, you can connect with her at our replay page. And Andrea, I just wanted to thank you so much for joining us, and it's been a real pleasure to connect with you and share this time together. And I really hope that you have a great day. I'm just grateful that you're a part of this process of reaching out and sharing with our audience.
Thank you so much for putting this all together and giving a platform for speakers that have these experiences, again, to be here for others and help bring them through their own experiences and out of. And so I really appreciate you having me on and being able to share.
Thank you very much, Andrea. And I just want to say thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day then.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.